Hey everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is your right angle on the state of the progressive media. You know, we've been complaining lately, and not without due cause, about conservatives and libertarians getting shut out of this social media platform or deplatformed off of YouTube or Facebook and all the rest. But there is something to be said, a little wicked joy, a little schadenfreude maybe to be had at the state of the progressive online media. And I'm not actually kidding about this. Just a bunch of stories have been catching my eye over the last couple of weeks, and I thought, hey, maybe there's a segment in this. So here's your segment on this. I want to start this off, I think, to you, Scott. We just found out, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Salon.com, maybe one of the angriest progressive sites out there, has been...
Wait, there's another kind?
Well, angriest. Angriest. They can't all be the angriest, can they?
No, there can only be one.
There can be only one. Right. Anyway, they've been in financial distress for a long time, so much so that a year ago, that in order to pay the bills, they offered their readers the chance to volunteer their computer CPUs for bit mining, for Bitcoin that Salon could pay. That didn't work. They found a bunch of angel investors. This mysterious group called Salon LLC just bought Salon.com for $5 million, which is about $5,001 more than it's worth. And I'm guessing they're going to run this thing as a loss leader. We got to get the message out there, so we're going to lose money for as long as we can afford to. ThinkProgress is bleeding cash, and 5 top people left just last week. Scott, BillWhittle.com still going strong. PJ Media had some troubles. That's where I work. But Salem, which is Town Hall, bought us out a couple of months ago, and things are kind of looking pretty dang good in the conservative blogosphere. Why can't these sites make a go of it on the left, do you think?
Well, I don't think it's easy to make money in a small business anywhere in the United States. I mean, if anybody who's ever run a small business knows that under the best of circumstances, if all the stars are aligned, so to speak, you've got a great product, you've got a great distribution channel, you've got a sort of natural audience of people that you can reach, and you've got a way to reach them. All of that put together, and you can still go bankrupt in 3 years. You can still fail, and a lot of businesses do. But it becomes trickier when the whole heart and soul of your business is to prove to people that the economic model upon which you're relying for your sustenance is ultimately a failed model that you want to see destroyed. So...
that is a bit of a problem.
That's where the Schadenfreude kicks in. It really does, right there.
It's kind of an odd concept. I mean, we're not rolling in the dough here, and just not knowing where to throw the extra cash. On the other hand, we believe in what we're saying, and we are employing ourselves in an activity that's consistent with the system that we agree with.
Amen.
And that is, I think, the difference, really. I mean, I think that anybody who can make a buck by talking to people or by writing stuff ought to go ahead and try to do it. But somebody's got to be willing not only to read it, but to be part of a system that generates profits. And so whether that means the readers are going to pay themselves, pay you by themselves for the right to read that or listen to it, or whether some advertiser says, hey, you've got a great market there, I'd like to reach them with my advertising message. One way or the other, it's got to be good enough to generate enough of that to cover the overhead. Now, I think another problem with a lot of these businesses is because of their utopian idealism and their rejection of capitalism, they probably have a cost structure that would be unsustainable under any projectable model of membership or advertising revenue.
Yeah, this is not a rock star business, and to expect that people are going to make rock star money doing essentially opinionating just seems a little silly to me. You got to keep your expectations in line with the thing it is you want to do. If you want to make $100 million billion a year, learn how to play guitar, start a band, and maybe you'll do that. If you're happier with slightly smaller returns, maybe blogging is more your gig. I know it is mine. Besides, I never could get my fingers to do the thing that Eddie Van Halen does. Just never going to happen. Bill, I'm glad Scott brought up the capitalism angle, because these vicious capitalist hating scum Or are they capitalist haters because we're scum and vicious? I never understand how that works. I'm a running dog imperial's lackey of someone or other. Anyway, it turns out the owners of Vox Media, you're familiar with Vox.com, which is the Ezra Klein's Juicebox Mafia, the infotainment site for young adult readers. They unionized. And they've just walked out. This was last week. They've got this big strike going on, which pits the progressive.
It writes itself. It writes itself.
It pits the progressive management, who turn out to be vile capitalists, up against up against the even more progressive writers who turn out to want to get paid money because of this evil system we have, or whatever it is. I love this, Bill. I saved this. I thought of you when I read this. It was a tweet from Dylan Matthews, who's one of the writers at Vox. He retweeted an official Vox.com promotion for something that he had written right before the strike started, but then the strike did start. And he said, "I did not schedule this tweet of my article. Please do not click links from the tweets management is forcing folks out of unit to do while we walk out." So put yourself in my shoes, Bill. You read this tweet. Do you not click so that you deny Vox the ad revenue they need? Or do you click in order to break the progressive strikers' lines?
I'm sorry, I was confused. What is it that the writer of that tweet wants you to do?
He wanted you not to click on his article because it's generating revenue. Yes.
Then in that case, the answer is click on the article.
Click on the article. Okay.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Look, as Scott said, it's hard to run a small business, and we have political disagreements, with people on the left. But, watching your business go under is just a heartbreaking experience. And to those people out there on the left who have their own commentary sites, I would just 3 heartfelt words, from the bottom of my heart, which is learn to code. Scott said our business model is the philosophy of our philosophy and our business model are the same. The reason that we've never looked for any kind of government grant or any kind of state funding for BillWhittle.com, it's available for a lot of different things. There's all kinds of federal grants just buried places, but it violates one fundamental principle of mine. It's it's not even a principle; it's more of a core characteristic, and that principle is of course laziness. I'm far too lazy to write an application, a grant application, and so therefore it's just easier just to kind of make things up as we go along. In all seriousness, though, it reminds me very much of what we saw back when we all got started. It was about 2005, I want to say, with Air America. Air America was a network of progressive talk show on radio, terrestrial radio, and it was being offered as a counterpart to talk radio, which was so conservative. And so it was this top-down, multi-million-dollar network that eventually went out of business because I guess nobody wants to hear it. So when you have to have angel investors and top-down organizations and stuff in order to prop up your message, that's telling you one thing. And then the flip side of this is also telling you the same thing. When you cannot make money doing what you're doing by selling your opinion, and at the same time, your primary focus is to make sure that the other side is pushed out of business by whatever means necessary, legal, illegal, immoral, or whatever the case may be. Whether you like it or not, that is a referendum on your philosophy. If the opposing philosophy has people voluntarily giving them numbers and making people like Rush Limbaugh, very rich man, and your philosophy is taking in millions, if not billions of dollars from people who made their money somewhere else, and nobody's buying your message, and they're buying ours, and you just try to shut us down. I mean, it's pretty much as clear as it gets. Nobody wants this message except for the people that believe in it. And I almost did a segment this week called "Revenge of the Nerds" because this is what this is. This whole thing. This whole thing is just all of the beta males and weirdos and losers using our decency against us to make us feel guilty about the fact that that their constant re-engineering of this society is somehow justified by the fact that they're weirdos and losers. It's like a circular fig leaf. It's like a holographic fig leaf that starts and begins, goes all the way around you, and ends in the same place. It's like a Mobius strip of fig leaves. We're weird. That gives us the moral authority because we're different and we've suffered, and therefore we're right, and we're going to make the rest of society weird. And you normal people are just going to have to take it, and we do, and that is both the greatest indictment, and at the same time, the greatest hope is that just we allow this to happen. We allow these people to have this kind of power over us through our own decency. And when you understand that the whole thing is not what they say it is, it's not a question of genuine compassion for whatever they may be going through emotionally. It's just a ploy used to play on your emotions to get you to shut up. But all of this stuff does not survive the market, and I love the fact that. That this entire, primal scream from the left is a primal scream against the market forces that they hate so much, because it shows you why they hate market forces, because nobody wants to buy what they're selling. Therefore, we will force you to buy what we're selling, and we'll also force the other guy out of business. If we have to do it through legal means, that's what we'll do, or social means, or strong arm tactics. But it's certainly not a question of marketplace of ideas. They don't have any ideas.
Yeah, Bill, you made me
slogans.
I was going to wrap with this, but I think I'll wrap with on a different angle instead. But it occurs to me that maybe conservatives and right-leaning libertarians are getting deplatformed, not to keep us quiet or to silence our voices, although I think that's part of it, but because they can't handle the competition, quite frankly, in that field of ideas. Right. Yeah, or the financial competition, for that matter. Folks. Bill reminded me of something, and that is somebody, I can't remember who this was, it might have been George Will, described Mike Dukakis back in 1988 as the eat your peas candidate. He was all... that was his mean as a candidate. He wanted you to do the right, boring thing that you don't really want to do and eat your peas. And of course, he went on to lose, I want to say 42 or 43 states to George H.W. Bush, who quite frankly is not much of a was not much of a campaigner. Even his attempts to be patriotic were just so over the top they became lame. Like when he visited a flag factory, flag production is up under Ronald Reagan, so you should elect George W. Bush. And he was not a great candidate. And the same thing happened with Al Gore. Al Gore came off of it was 2 terms of Bill Clinton, who was still pretty wildly popular at the end of his second term, and the economy had boomed almost as well as under Reagan and all the rest. And Al Gore blew that because, again, he was the lecturing, nagging, eat your peas candidate. Same thing with Hillary Clinton in 2016. If you want to win votes, you have to give people something to vote for. You got to get them up off of their sofa and into the voting booth in exchange for really not much. Really what we want is for politicians not to mess things up too badly. So you got to bring a little fun. You got to motivate people to get to the polls, and eat your peas is not a good message to get people to do that. And I'm sorry, no, I'm not sorry, but progressivism is the eat your peas political movement. It's the boss everybody around. It's the make everybody conform. It's the bring everybody to the lowest common denominator. Eat your peas and shut up while you do it movement. And that's no way to get people off the sofa and into the voting booth, or in this case, eyeballs to your website. They're failing not because their message is bad. No, wait. They're failing exactly because their message is bad and nobody wants to read it. And that is your right angle on that. Brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. If you like content like this, please click over to BillWhittle.com. Become a member. We'd love to have you on board. And if you do, you can say, hey, I helped make that show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.